let's talk about it. Let's talk about coaches and player relationships. Like, let's try to help bridge the gap with exactly what's going on in a lot of these programs, and like the confusion that happens like once a player goes to college or once a player goes and onto a respective club team or high school team and things don't really work out the way they wanted it to. I mean, I've been in that situation before, and I also know a lot of other people that's been in that situation where they've been recruited and they go to these respective programs and things aren't what they thought they were going to be. You know what I mean? And a couple of different things that we got to realize, right? And the first thing I think is the most important is, what type of player are you? You have to understand and identify exactly what type of player you are. And that's the point where you got to be real with yourself, because basketball is so popular right now, man. And I know kids, they see a lot of these highlights and they think that they're that kid. They think they're the next Jalen Green, and they're not. So you have to identify exactly what type of player you are and what you bring to the table on your respective club teams or whatever team that you're playing on. Like, how do you help your team win? So to help identify that, you have to ask yourself, what's your productivity in games? Like, what do you do? And be real with yourself. Like, what do you do? Not what you think you can do. Like, what do you do? What does the stat sheet say at the end of the game? Like, be real. What does it say? I mean, you come back like, hey man, you know, I know my potential, and coach is hating on me. Sometimes you might not be that player. You might be a system player. So if you're a system player, you have to know your role. But if you're a playmaker, you know, a lot of coaches, I don't know too many coaches that's not going to let a playmaker make plays. So our job as coaches is to identify what that player does well, the strengths and weaknesses, and how we can use that player to help win games. Now, I will say, are there coaches that hold players back? Like, do I think they exist? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, because you got to understand, it's like a power trip too. You know what I mean? It's like they want to make a point sometimes. You know what I mean? They like, I have your career in my hand. Like, I cannot play you, I can play you. You know what I mean? So sometimes they try to be doing too much. They try to make a point, and I've seen that happen too. And where I'm seeing kids that are clearly good players, and they don't get time, you know? So, and sometimes you talk to a coach and they're like, well, he rolled his eyes at practice and I just wanted to make a point. Like, okay, you wanted to make a point. Good job. We're talking about high school basketball. You want to make a point. So I do think those coaches exist, and those coaches they just need to be talked to. I mean, I think there's a time and place. I mean, and if there's a coach or if there's a player that's being disrespectful or not adhering to your rules, man, talk to that player. You know, don't take it out on them and the next day and the next day and the next day. You know what I mean? Like that's a pet peeve of mine as well. So, I mean, those coaches do exist. But then there's players that exist that aren't really that good, and they come to me like, yeah, man, my coach is tripping, man. He won't let me shine. And they're not really that good. If you shooting step back threes in transition, bro, that's not a high percentage shot, regardless of what Dame did last night. You're not Dame, okay? You're not that guy. So you have to first, again, identify what kind of player you are. Again, identify what kind of coach you're playing for. Like, what kind of coach are you playing for? What kind of system are you in? If you're playing for a coach and he likes passing cuts, he likes to slow the ball down, it's not wise for you to go 100 miles per hour and shoot a hezzy pull from the volleyball line. That's not smart. You know what I mean? So you might want to try to find a system that fits your type of basketball, what type of player you are. Regardless, I understand, like, I see a lot of different situations and where kids go to college and they come back, and I hear some of the stories and I'd be blown away, like, man, this is crazy. You know what I mean? But I've been in certain situations too, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been in situations where the coach might not even invite you to a workout. Like, once your eligibility's up, or once you get injured, something along those lines, hey, them coaches is like, you know, next. They're recruiting on the road. You might have thought you had a great year. Like, oh yeah, I'm coming back next year. Man, he's bringing 5 of us back, and I got good minutes last year, and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you come to practice and they got a whole new dynamic of players, and they all playing your position. And you like, man, coach told me I was doing good. Like, yeah, I bet he did. I bet he did. Some of these coaches are tricksters, man. They recruiting, you know what I mean? So they got to say what sounds good. So you gotta go to, man, me personally, man, I would try to go with a coach that's actually cares about you, and there's really no way to tell. You know what I mean? There's really no way to tell, but you have to ask the hard questions. That's the only way you're going to tell. And then you got to hold them to their word. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times these coaches get these players out here, you thousands of miles away from home, from family, and you got nobody. You know what I mean? And if things aren't working out, they don't care. They really don't care, because they brought you out here to do a job. If they feel like you're not doing the job, they kind of cut you loose. You know what I mean? Like, it's sick, man, but it's a business, bro. And that's kind of one of my things that's kind of like, I don't know, it kind of really bothers me when you see a lot of these young men and young women go to college, and if things don't work out, you know, it's like, it is what it is. I mean, let's keep it 100. Don't be like, yeah, I'm going for this major and I'm going for, no, you're not. You're going to college to play basketball. A lot of these kids don't even know what they want to do. They get to college, they have no idea what they want to do. They don't even understand what kind of career fields exist. You know what I mean? They just go to college. Like, you're going to college to play basketball. Just keep it a buck. That's why you're going to college. You're not going to college for whatever reason you're telling people. It sounds good, but that's not why you're there. So I remember in college, we had this kid named Zoe, right? And he was our big man. He was like 6'8". He was our best big man. He can dunk the ball, all that good stuff, right? And he was a biology major. So when you're a biology major, you got a lot of labs you got to do, right? So he was like, look, I'm going to be late to practice because I got to do these labs. I got to finish my lab. And man, these coaches was losing their mind. Like, what? Lab? What are you talking about? Like, man, forget all that lab stuff. You're going to be at practice. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm in the background. You know me, I'm shooting on the side rims, just listening. Like, hey, man, I thought, I'm going to the coach. Like, I thought this was student athletes. You know what I'm saying? I thought this was student athletes. You know what I mean? And they over here tripping on Zoe because he had labs to do. I'm like, bro, he can't make practice. There was certain practice he couldn't even make. Like, yeah, I'm going to be in this lab. It's 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you want me to do? Education. You know what I'm saying? They're not about that, man. I'm trying to tell you, they're not about that. And then you got coaches that are in high school coaches. I'm just say it plain. High school coaches, they don't like AAU teams. They don't like their kids playing summer basketball, which is crazy to me too. Because anytime that your kids can be playing basketball, they need to be playing. But some of these coaches, they voice their little opinion in how they feel about other club programs or trainers or whatever the case. And I'm like, yo, you need to be happy that your kid is playing. They're like, no, I want to be the one to show them. I want to be the one to show them how to make a layup. I want to do that. Like, because it's an ego thing. It's not about these kids. A lot of these trainers and a lot of these coaches, it's all ego. They don't really want what's best for the kid. They want to be the one to say, like, I impacted this kid's life more than that guy did. There was one coach around here, man. They lost a game. Right? High school coach lost a game, went in the locker room as the kids are like tripping about them losing. They're like, oh man, we just lost that game, whatever. Well, if you wasn't spending all your time with your trainers, and your club coaches, we probably would have won that game. I'm like, what? I mean, the kids came back and told me that. I was like, oh man. I said, yo, so hey, look, when we in season, this, y'all can go ahead and work out on Sundays, but if your coach is tripping like that, man, just go ahead and listen to him. But sometimes, hey, I will say this, sometimes the kids y'all be doing the most too. Y'all be going to these coaches like, well, Trey said, do it this way. and 9 times out of 10 is right. But still, listen to your coaches. You know what I mean? Coaches teaching how to use the ball screen or defend the ball screen the wrong way, and these kids be the first to try to tell them. That's not smart. That's not smart. But again, back to these coaches and back to these players, man, because I was on both sides. I was in the game where I knew I wasn't getting out, right? And I also was on the bench when I knew I wasn't getting in. You know what I'm saying? So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And I played for both coaches. I played for coaches that had egos, and I played for coaches that really cared about the kids and wanted to win and cared about your livelihood. And I still have relationships with a lot of those coaches. And then, again, we had a kid, man, he was the top 5. Like the Drew League does this they do the top 5 players, almost like a all-conference team. You know what I mean? He was an all-conference top 5 player in the Drew League one year. So he was our best scorer by far. You know what I mean? Like, I humbled myself. You know, as hard as it sounds, I humbled myself. This brother could play. So we was like, when he was done playing, the coach was kind of like, washed his hands with him. Like, all right, well, thank you for everything. Good luck. And the kid's like, look, man, I just, can you tell me about some free agent camps or help me with an agent? Anything like that. Anything you can do to help me. I mean, when you go on this recruiting trip, I've been on this recruiting trip, right? The coach will pull out a stack of business cards, like, yay, hi, and be like, yeah, anywhere you want to play after this, I'll help you. D-League, it was D-League at the time, D-League, overseas, you name it, I'll help you. Man, these coaches be lying, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then they get you all the way out there, and then they just go ahead and dismiss you like you're nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, which brings me to my next point. You need to come in with the same mindset. You don't know these people and they don't know you personally. All they know is you can play, right? So you have to have the mindset of self-preservation when you go to these colleges, when you go to any team that you're playing on, right? And that's why my philosophy is better players make better teams. Become a better player so when you go to any respective teams, you'll be able to fit into a system, right? So again, come into these situations, especially in college, with the spirit of self-preservation, right? If you get injured, what happens to me, right? Like, you have to ask these questions, like, after college, post-college, how can you help me? What if I want to get into coaching? You know what I mean? Because a lot of these coaches do care. You know what I mean? Shout out to the coaches that really are about what they say they're about. You know what I'm saying? But then there's a lot of coaches that don't, man. You're just another number. You know what I mean? And as soon as you get hurt, they're bringing in the next one. So come in with the mindset of self-preservation. Like, what am I going to get out of this? And if they keep on saying, yeah, you're going to get this degree. Like, if they just okay, fine, let's put that on the table. So now if you're Zoe, right, and you put that degree first in their face too, like, hey, yeah, man, I got to get this degree. Remember? Get off my back, coach. You offer me the degree. I'm here to get it. So what you talking about? Hey, I need extra time to study. I'm not coming to practice. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I got a test in the morning. I'm really stressed out about. Try that. Hey, I got a test tomorrow, coach. Look, man, I'm really struggling in this class. I'm not gonna be at practice. I'm just gonna take a little bit of extra time and study. Coach gonna look at you like, study? What you talking about, study, brother? You better be at practice. We got 2-a-day tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not going to be at none of those. Try it. You know what I'm saying? But again, I want to help bridge the gap between players and coaches, man. Coaches, a lot of y'all got to lose the ego. Players, you got to understand what kind of player you are, understand what kind of coach you're playing for, understand what kind of system you're in. You know what I'm saying? And then coaches, don't bring a kid out there, man. Like, don't bring a kid out there and just leave him, man. I had a kid go all the way out here to another college, right? And only the assistant coach was messing with him after it was all said and done. Once they lost in their little championship or whatever the case, once they lost in their little conference finals, the coach just bounced. You know what I'm saying? No one could find him. You know what I'm saying? The assistant coach is the only ones that's rocking with him. So I've seen a lot of different situations, man, and it just brings me to when I hear what's really going on, and I seen what's going on, and me being on the coaching side now, it just kind of it really grieves me. But at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, come in with the same mindset. It's nothing personal, right? It's nothing personal. Like, I'm here to do this, and I'm here to get this degree, or whatever the case. Get what you can. And then while you're there, don't just be partying and chilling and drinking and smoking. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, network. If you got a business that you want to start, now's the time to do it. When you're in college, you got a whole network of people that you can sell to. You know what I'm saying? But again, a lot of these coaches, man, y'all have to check that ego, man. Like, keep it real with yourself. A lot of these coaches, they weren't even good in high school either, especially these coaches around here in the city. They weren't good at high school, and they get this position of power, and they're like, I'm never letting it go. And then the real coaches that come in, you know what they got to do to them. They got to frame them and do something crazy to them, get them up out of there. You feel me? That's what they got to do, because the hate is real around here, man. And the coaches will hate on the player. They'll see you like, oh, man, he got the hezzy pull step back. Oh, man, I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have trainers. I didn't have none of this stuff growing up. So I'm going to sit him on the bench. You're doing too much. You did a between the legs cross and laid it up. He pulls you out the game like, oh, you want to get all fancy and do all this stuff. I'm like, man, I just put the ball between my legs. What you mean? That's not fancy. I remember one time, I turned the ball over, right? I think we was playing Texas A&M, man. Pat Douglas, man. If you listening, shout out. Pat Douglas, man. I turned the ball over, right? DeAndre Jordan's a freshman, mind you. So I turned the ball over because the pressure was just too crazy at the time. I was like, man, that was a good trap. You know what I'm saying? I turned the ball over. We go to the huddle instead of saying, all right, look, try to pass out of the traps, see the trap coming when the gap closed. Instead of trying to help me get through, he's like, man, when I was in college, I went one full season without one turnover. You need to take care of the ball. Like, man, I don't care what you did in college, bro. I will give you buckets, Pat Douglas. Okay? I will give you buckets. So don't sit here and tell me what you did in college. I don't care what you did in college. You're not better than me, Pat. So, but again, I'm done with it. I digress with that, man. But again, I'm trying to bridge the gap between these players and coaches, man. It's getting crazy out here. People just wake up like, see a YouTube video or an Instagram highlight. They see it like, oh, yeah. Yep. I think I want to go into coaching. I think I want to go into training. Have never played, never done anything. They just wake up. And basketball is the only, typically, I guess it's the only sport you can do that. You know what I'm saying? You can just wake up and just do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, imagine me, right? Trey Harris, me waking up like in this promoting tennis training. Like, yeah, man, come and work on some tennis. I always wanted to play when I was younger, so I've been watching it a lot, but I'll help you get better. This is what's going on. It's madness what's going on. But a lot of these coaches were those players that just woke up one day and got a high school job. How they got a high school job, I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have no idea. They might be related to somebody that's related to somebody that's related to somebody. You feel me? But when it comes to basketball, I'm like, what? It's a psychology game, man. Like, you kids is coming back like, yo, the coach took my confidence. I'm like, what you mean the coach took your confidence? Confidence gone. Now you come back and what I'm supposed to do? Kids not even, one kid told me I ain't shot a step back in a year. You ain't created space in a year. Come on, man. So anyways, know who you're playing for, man. Ask the coach the hard question when he's recruiting you. You know what I'm saying? Ask every question you could think of. How you plan on using me, right? What if I get injured? What if I get ineligible? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you see me on the floor? What happens after college? Ask all those questions and look him right in his eye. And don't have your parents start asking these silly questions either. You do your research and ask the questions, because your parents is going to go back to their livelihood, right? You ask the questions so you don't be putting yourself in a situation, right? All right, I'm done. Later. My goodness, it's crazy out here. It's getting crazy out here, y'all. It's getting crazy. Run for cover. Do your research and run for cover.